welcome back. Finding Strength Podcast. We made it. We're here. What episode is this? 79.
Yeah.
Or something. Maybe. Actually, it might be 80.
78 is coming out this Thursday, and then this will be...
Yeah. We try to release
80,
on
so this will be
Thursdays.
81.
Doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
But we appreciate everybody for listening. We got our... Dude, I'm so happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, and we're going to let you guys in on a little secret.
A little secret.
Once upon a time, we recorded this podcast already with Jerry in these same seats, yes. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't meant to be. It didn't track the world, the powers, the energy didn't want us to gather that particular episode. So here we are. We're doing it again. It was catching lightning in a bottle twice.
Warm-up episode.
It was a warm-up episode. So,
yeah.
Jerry is my good friend. We've known each other for a minute now. Yeah. Jerry runs an awesome podcast called
Enduring the Badge.
Enduring the Badge. Yes. Great podcast. I've been on that before.
On that, yeah.
Yes. How many episodes do you guys have now?
160 plus.
Just a few.
Holy cow.
Just a few.
That's cool.
You do one a week? Is that kind of the goal?
Yeah, I'm going down to 3 a week just because it gets kind of grinding, as you know.
Does.
A lot of the behind the scenes work.
3 a month?
Yeah, 3 a month.
Yeah.
I was doing 4 a month, but I take a little break over the summer and just do 3.
That's good, man. Yeah,
that's a break. There's 3. Like, right, you just cut that in half, man. That's not a break.
Well, and you're first responder, career, freaking, you've done it all, man.
Yeah.
Cop, fire.
Oh, yeah. You've done cop and fire.
Yeah.
I forgot about
I've been
that.
very, very fortunate to be in lots of different worlds with my job and career path. And yeah, done law enforcement work, firefighting, both structure, wildland, fire investigations, hazmat, like SWAT stuff. It's like
all over.
When you're in a smaller city, you wear all the hats, right? And I've been in Utah for my fire and police career all my life. So,
which one did you do first, fire or police?
Fire.
Okay.
And then in about 2000, I went to the police academy and started doing some police work, fire investigation type stuff, and then got into the SWAT world of things and still continue to do fire investigations as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Plus, be a fire captain and paramedic and
all the hats.
Yeah, all the hats. Yes. Jack of
all the trades.
And
do we get to have the conversation of which one you like more, or should we not go there?
Yeah, we can. We sure can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Police or fire? Which one is
or within fire? What'd you like? Wildland? What
because you did so much.
I did really like, and I do like wildland. I'm actually going back out this year to be a line paramedic in the wildland world. So I really like that world. The structure, I like structure.
Okay. Yep.
Structure, discipline is kind of my thing.
Okay.
I really like that, and so you find that a lot in the wildland world. On those big fires, right? You have to have the structure and discipline and people doing their jobs. Same thing in SWAT, right? You can't have somebody not doing their job, or it's going to lead to something very bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing within first responder culture in general, right? Is like I got to rely on my brothers and sisters to make sure this thing happens.
Yeah, and I really like the law enforcement side of things because I think just this kind of structure that it brought. I'm not saying the fire side doesn't. It was just, and maybe I didn't have to do it every day, like the law enforcement stuff. So I think that was maybe made it more fascinating to me, and I was unique.
Yeah,
not too many people do both. So
that's
so
cool. That was you've done both.
Yeah, and they treated me really well. Really well. I mean, of course, you have to earn your respect.
Yeah. What's one of the hardest ways you had to earn your respect? I've heard of these stories. Did you get hazed?
No, actually, no. I mean, there is
good.
some general hazing, right? Like, always some firefighter jokes from police officers. But
okay.
But nothing bad. Like, it was, I think you just prove your worth, your respect and stuff like that by showing up and being your best every day. And then if you don't know how to do something, you're not good at it, you just have to admit.
Okay.
Which can be really tough for a lot of people to do. And that opens up a whole thing of like vulnerability.
Yes.
But I would rather be like, tell somebody I don't really know how to do that or don't feel comfortable and, and get some help.
Yeah.
And then just try to fake it.
Have you always been that way? Do you feel like more of like getting vulnerable and saying you need help, or did you have to learn along the way to like learn how to get vulnerable and really ask for help?
I think as I took on more roles in life and the world of police and fire, I had to become more vulnerable because there's just so much information.
Yeah.
I'm trying to retain it all the time. Even though you're constantly training, there's just still new stuff coming in. Plus you're training on old stuff and preparing for something new. And so it's always just like
it's like a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to process. So
that's crazy.
Being vulnerable, which, it proves to really pay off because those who fake it, they get found. And it's not good.
Yes.
It's not good.
Yeah.
So,
that vulnerability thing is interesting. It's like this strange double-edged sword within first responder culture. Because
sure,
you kind of have to like be vulnerable to a certain extent, right? But it's within like these very specific parameters. And you can be vulnerable within this range, but then outside of this, it's like a hell no.
Yeah.
Right. And that's changed, but specifically referring to like getting your mental health support.
Right.
Right. Like asking for help in that way has been, we'll put it nicely, frowned upon.
Well, because the focus is on the person, right? Like I think about a first responder and they show up on scene and they're taking care of the person who's hurt. So all the limelight is on them and not the paramedic itself. So then when it comes to be on the paramedic, I feel like being vulnerable that way is a lot harder because now the light is on you and not the patient.
Yeah. I mean, most people don't want the spotlight on them.
Yeah.
And when you are vulnerable, you can put the spotlight on you.
Yeah. That's hard, I'm sure, in a department.
And depends on where your position is too, right? The higher you're up in rank, your vulnerability it kind of gets confined, I think, or can be. It's up to you, right, to do that. But I think it's more important, even as you go up in rank, to be more vulnerable, more real.
Yeah.
Right? Because most people were in that other person's situation, right? That they're probably talking to, that they're opening up and being vulnerable about.
Yep. And then you can set the example as you go up and create that safe space for your team.
Well, we're kind of talking about vulnerability in a sense, but really the word I think that's more descriptive for what we're wanting is authenticity. Right? Like a good leader is authentic.
Yeah.
A good leader is very real.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because what that breeds is a lot of trust. And I want to look at a leader and I want to go, I trust that guy. I would follow that guy into a burning building, literally. Because I know he's going to get us out.
Yeah.
And we have this strangely profound radar for bullshit, right? And you know when somebody's not authentic. And I think that's, why vulnerability has kind of got this bad rap, because I'm going to be exposed. And vulnerability means that I have to be authentic. And I've been kind of faking it till I make it, like you talked about. And now I got to be real. And I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna shy away from vulnerability. And what I've noticed in my experience working with, especially men, right? Women, it's there as well, especially within first responder culture, maybe even a little, not necessarily more so, but definitely it's a survival tactic to like make sure that I'm tough and I don't let any of the dudes know. Like I, as a woman, can't cry. There's no way in hell.
Right.
Because then I'm going to be perceived as weak. And as a man, it's kind of the same thing, but maybe a little bit more acceptable to be a little bit more emotionally vulnerable depending on the culture. But the reality is like when somebody isn't being authentic and then we ask them to do that and they don't know how, they're going to be exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
And one of the major narratives that sits in the back of the mind of a lot of human beings is this fraudulent idea, right? Like I'm a fraud. Right. And if I'm seen as my authentic self, are they going to see that I'm the fraud? Are they going to see that I'm not really this guy who I pretend that I am? Yeah. That's a hard moment. That's a scary thing to do. Yeah. But people who do that well, people who can make that transition from this feeling of being a fraud or a fake or not good enough and can transition into like, I'm going to be authentic and show up real. That takes this vulnerable thing to a whole nother level. dude, those are the people you would follow into a burning building.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely had leaders I would totally go wherever. And I've definitely had people that I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can kind of feel
And
that.
at the highest ranks and at even lower ranks, there's just people are like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's people that felt that about me, right?
Yes.
And you just don't maybe jive with or whatever,
Yeah.
but some of it is just like, yeah, done.
But you're a really authentic dude. Like you, I don't think, and probably in the back of your head, you're like, oh. But you are, like, you have, I feel people's energy, right? Like, you have really good energy. You're a good person. You can just tell. And your intentions are altruistic, it seems, most of the time. Like, you spend all this energy and all this time just trying to make, the fire first responder world a better place on your own dime, providing this really informative, very well done podcast platform, right? Like, that says a lot about Jerry, which I think is a cool thing. And I think that's probably why you make a good leader.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to be. I wasn't always, the leader I was when I left. Right? Over time, you change.
Yeah.
Life changes. You learn things. You have to adapt to your leaders above you. So and then you get to a point where you feel pretty confident in your career and some of the things, like, your leaders want this and this and this done, but I know my guys can only do this and this. So you have to be that buffer. So I learned to be the buffer. Like, I know what we need to get done, and that's what we do on those busy days, and we'll do extra on the other days. And so it's just kind of management, right? Managing expectations, and sometimes expectations of leaders are way up here because they forget they've been down here and what it takes to be down here.
Sounds like you have personal experience with this particular dynamic.
Yeah, I've had lots of experience of.
Do you find
that
that's I don't want to use the word common, but like, commonplace maybe, that leadership seems to lose touch?
I think it's probably the thing that most, I'll just narrow it down, the first responder world probably just hate, I guess, is when they feel that leadership has lost touch. And it can be easily lost touch, right? If you're the chief or whatever, and you just do chief stuff, how do you know, other than what's on paper, what your guys are doing, unless you run across them on a scene?
Well said.
Yeah.
You kind of, you don't.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
You're guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're filling in a bunch of gaps. And the amazing thing about the mind will create a story.
Sure.
And this story is going to be the story that I believe, not only that I believe to be reality. And I'm going to craft my behavior based off of that story that I tell myself. And my mind, without even me knowing, is going to fill in those gaps. It's supposed to. It has to, in order for me to be able to, like, just make sense of this insane experience called life, right?
Yeah.
So these out-of-touch leaders, this is the thing that I see all the freaking time, right? We're traveling around the country, doing all these talks, talking to freaking hundreds of people at a time, 30 people at a time. It's these different size rooms. We're doing in-service trainings. And for sure, within 20 minutes, we can tell exactly which departments give a shit and are doing something to make the mental health of their, department a priority, because they stay in the training. Yeah. Now, we meet all these other leaders who come up and they'll do a guest appearance. They'll stand up there for 2 minutes, put the badge on, look real nice and pretty. This is important. We need to make sure that we make mental health a priority.
Yeah.
And we're doing 4 trainings in service with this group, and we see them for 10 minutes. And Jordan and I both look at each other usually, and we're like, okay. And then we'll find somebody in the department who's like the wellness leader person.
Yeah.
Right? Who you typically have. I think you're kind of that guy.
Yeah. Mean, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of taking it under their wing because they might have a leadership authority style position within their department. But if the people that are at the very top really take a vested interest in this thing, it bleeds down into that department so well. so well. We've seen this in multiple departments all over the nation. And it's really, you can see how not just the dynamic of the department feels safer, but I actually read studies that say like disciplinary incidents go down. Right? When you put mental health as a priority and you implement these programs.
Shocker.
Right? It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I totally see it. And I totally understand what you're saying. I think what tends to happen is like, okay, this person is over the mental health,
right?
Whatever for the department, and then so that's the person.
Yeah.
So that person reports to the chief. And that's what happens.
But only that person reports to the chief.
Generally, yeah. So it's like you have your specialty people and they report to the chief.
Makes
but when
sense.
it comes to like mental health, which is such a massive thing that's happening in the first responder world.
And it's new.
And it needs to go from knowing what needs to be done to doing what needs to be done.
Yeah.
If their chiefs are not engaged and fully like listening instead of getting this little summary, if I go to a conference and I summarize what you said, I'm just going to take my key takeaways.
Your key takeaways were.
What was for you?
Yeah, what was for me.
Yeah.
Not necessarily from just a broad perspective. I think the chiefs need to be engaged and the deputy chiefs need to be engaged. Like, at least go to some of the trainings and stay in there the whole time so you know what's going on, not being told what's going on.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a generational thing? Like some of the chiefs and stuff like that?
Command and control.
Like, why are they just sit back, and rather have someone else? Like, what do you think from your guys' experience, both of you?
Command and control, span of control.
Okay.
It's just easier to, right? If you're the chief, I have these 100 things.
This is my job.
And I have these 100 things to do, and I'm going to delegate 50 of these 100 things to do, and then just keeps getting delegated down. I think it's just, I think they see that something needs to be done. Some check a box.
Okay.
Yeah, we have mental health. Check.
Boom.
Off my plate. Moving on.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot going on.
Yeah,
that's understandable.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bash them to an extent, but I would like to encourage them to take the time that is something that is so critical in your departments. You have to invest your time into. Nobody wants to go to a funeral of someone that committed suicide from their department.
For sure.
And people are doing it on duty.
Yeah.
Committing suicide. So where is the engagement from the command staff?
Right.
Yeah.
Were you at that first watch meeting with Saratoga Fire and Police? Were you there? I know Kenny was
I
there.
wasn't at the very first one.
Yeah, I was there. So I did one.
Yeah. I've been to a couple of your trainings.
This was a meeting. This was before First Watch was even involved in Saratoga.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to put the chief on blast here for a minute, which
It's fine.
come talk to me. I'm very happy to. He actually did the right thing, which I'm amazed, right? We're talking to the police chief, and we're trying to convince them to really convince is probably the wrong word. We're trying to help them understand that creating a mental wellness program like the First Watch wellness program was designed to provide wraparound support when utilized, wraparound support for everyone in the department, spouses, even dependents, right? This is something we're really excited about, and we're kind of rolling it out here in Utah first. We've done it in a couple places. It's gone really well. We think you guys would be prime to do this, right? We'll come in. We're going to provide some trainings throughout the year, and those trainings are hopefully going to encourage people to utilize services and meet with their clinicians and do their wellness checks and have all this cool stuff that's a part of this program. Mm-hmm. And we think it would be a great idea for you guys to do it. And I've heard this from other chiefs as well, but I remember this chief in particular said, well, we have all these trainings already. We just don't need any more training. I don't want to put my guys out and sit them in another meeting room where they get another training. And it's just we just train so much. I just don't see the value. And, I do my thing where I literally no respecter of persons, which may be a fault of mine. But I looked him square in the eyes and I said, Chief, with all due respect, sir, this is not another training. This is the revolution that is happening right now in the world of first responders, because you are burying people who die at their own hand. Mm-hmm. This is designed to prevent that. So these trainings are literally keeping people's guns out of their mouths. And he just kind of like looked at me like, people don't talk to me like this.
Yeah.
But that's been my style since day one. And that's why I think I'm kind of well received in the first responder world, because I don't pull punches.
You're very direct.
But the truth is, the reality is, people are dying in extremely high numbers, needlessly, because of this very thing we're talking about.
Right.
And it's complex, and it has to do with training, and it has to do with leadership, and it has to do with culture, stigma against vulnerability, like rounding out kind of everything we're talking about. But what he did in that moment that was very brave of him is he wasn't an asshole, right? He didn't send it back to me, and he didn't cross his arms. He was a leader in that moment, and he took a breath, and he took a step back, and he heard what I said, and they went with the program, and they've implemented it. And to his credit, right? Like, that's hard to do as a leader.
Yeah.
To kind of eat your own words and realize like, oh yeah, actually, I didn't think about it that way. That's brilliant. I freaking love that.
He is the leader who I would follow anywhere. Just with his experience, and I trust him.
He's a good dude, man.
Yeah.
He seems like he does a great job for Saratoga.
Yeah, because
PD.
He is invested. Mm-hmm. He makes traffic stops. Mm-hmm. He's out with his guys.
Cool.
He works the night times. He comes in on holidays sometimes. Like he's there. He knows. He has his hand in kind of those things to still keep the pulse on what's going on.
Yeah.
And I get the training thing is like the state mandates all this training to keep your certifications.
It's so much.
But then you're like,
to add on more trainings to that. Yeah.
To add more trainings, and then you're like trying to cover trainings, so people can be out on the road, and plus being training, and right, most departments are running at the very like edge.
Yeah.
Especially in fast growing cities like that. They're on the edge, right? They're just always
all
short
the time. Yeah.
Even when they're fully staffed, they're still short. People have to take vacation. People have, have childbirth, and stuff like that. They have lots of things that are going on, and people are out. People are getting hurt. But yeah, it's
a challenge.
It is a challenge, but like I said, you have to go from taking what we know and implementing it. Even though, and I think some chiefs are just like I said, checking the box and doing that, but that's not really implementation. And I would feel terrible if I was a box checker and something happened in the department, and I I have this program, but I just checked the box. Like, how invested were you in getting this program out to people? And the other thing, we're not talking about just people committing suicide or taking their own lives.
That's the worst of the worst end, right?
Yeah. But what's all the stuff in between? That's happening. All, the addictions that are happening, the domestic violence is
the failed
incredibly
marriages,
high, failed marriages,
the abandoned children. Like, it's huge.
And where does that, where else does that get manifested?
Yeah.
In the public.
Yeah.
Right.
If I'm feeling like crap at work and my home life is crap, how do you think I'm giving you my best?
No.
I don't think so.
You're gonna have patience with a traffic stop.
Right, your patience is thin.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping. You're like, so I think some of this stuff is like also being bled out into the public. Like, because you're not perfect. As a first responder, you're not perfect.
You're human.
You're human. And so the less sleep you have, the less, your poor nutrition, the stress, all the stuff, like, it manifests. I promise you, if they did some kind of study, and I'm pretty sure there's some going on, that they would know that, like, this is affecting the general public. No different than going to the store and being checked out by a checker who's pissed off at whatever, right? Yeah. She's not going to be engaging. She's just going to, like, check your food and just, like, be done with you.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as I look through the literature, that type of data is hard to come by. Incredibly. Because it's really hard to translate and get good data around, okay, how is A affecting B, let alone when A, variable 1, is saying, I have a hard time at home. and my home life sucks. That means, therefore, that I'm going to variable B, right?
Yeah.
That I'm going to be bad at traffic stops. It's really hard to translate those and connect the dots between those two things. It's quite a challenge in researching first responders, because getting hard data on this kind of stuff is challenging, because you can't really control your variables very well.
Right. But
we can make correlations.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can understand the relationship between A and B and say, hey, let's look at homeboy who reports that he's got shitty sleep. He just got divorced. He's now not with his kids, right? We can get a swath of those guys and we can say, let's look at their life event, and in relation, pre and post life event, do they have more disciplinary action after that life event? I would bet the farm they do.
I wouldn't see how they like.
How could they not?
See how did they not? Somewhere along the lines, there are things. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
I lived it.
I've been there, lived it. I've been disciplined. Like, and life wasn't great at the time, and sleep wasn't great, and like your fuse is short, and
Bank's on empty, man.
Yeah.
Real hard to freaking
so correlations
perform.
are there. Yeah, but most people want stats, right? They want numbers.
This is
why is the first responder world changing into the mental health of getting this going? Why? Because we have the numbers now of how many people are taking their lives.
Yes. Yeah, and that's hard data.
Hard data.
Yeah.
And we have those numbers, and we can go, look, here's a number, and you can see that number going up. Why? And we can make some pretty educated guesses. We don't know why for sure, but we can see that it's happening in certain areas more than others. Well, what's the dynamic in those areas as opposed to others? Oh, well, these people feel very supported. These people don't.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you get a wellness program in a place that did have a high mental illness issue rate, and the numbers are going down in that area. Well, there's a very easy to connect the dots A to B correlation, right? But it's not easy, man. It's very complex, and there's so many freaking people. That's the hard part. It's complicated. There's
and they got to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the other thing. They got to be honest if you're trying to get this data. I know the military did a study for those who have less than 2 weeks of leave. The suicide rate is a lot higher than the regular standard people in the military.
The people who go and
have leave, right? Because what happens? So generally, because I know some of these people, right, that are struggling, they get a day, take a day, get a day, take a day, get a day, because they're just barely hanging on by a thread, right? Yeah. So they never really bank up a bunch of time because
they're holding on for dear life.
Just holding on for dear life, right? They're trying to like get through this to like get back to the other side where they can build up time and be healthy and stuff.
Not easy to do.
No, it's not.
Not easy to do, especially when you don't have a support system in place that would aid you in that endeavor.
Right.
Which is what you need.
Yeah.
Right? And it's cool that we have, like for military, right? They have the VA, right? But the VA is a voluntary organization. You can go to the VA of your own volition voluntarily and get the help that you need. But what we need is mandatory aid, where you're getting mandatory help for your mental health. That is where I think that it needs to go. And I'll cite some data that I have.
Yeah.
Because we have this First Watch program that we've put in a bunch of departments. And the departments where the chiefs mandate wellness checks, which everybody has to get one, now it's like 2 a year, where you meet for like 30 minutes to an hour with your clinician, and you ask about your sleep, and you ask about your mental health status, and let's get you some tools. And you don't have to do anything after that. You just meet twice a year, and basically like a checkup, right? When they mandate that, one, utilization goes way up, right?
Right.
But more importantly, there's a noticeable cohesiveness. There's a noticeable dynamic change and conversation change around mental health in those departments. And that bleeds out in a big way. What I'm hoping to do is eventually get some data on disciplinary action, on suicide rates? Probably, but more than anything, there's a measurement that we can use called the PCL5, which basically is the PTSD checklist. It's the fifth edition of that. And it's this 40 question.
Very familiar with that.
Right? You take this 40 question survey, right? And if you answer yes to a certain number or more, you basically qualify for a post-traumatic stress disorder diagnosis. This also can be done periodically throughout time. And you can take number one, right? Like we would get intake data on people coming into Deer Hollow or something like that, and their numbers would be, in the 40s or the 50s, which is like high.
Yeah.
And then they'd leave and their numbers would be in like the teens. And so that their PTSD symptomatology has gone down because of the effectiveness of the program. Well, we probably need to do something like that in measuring mental health outcomes for these programs that are being utilized to aid in the layperson mental health, right?
Yeah.
That everyone in service who's getting these services are able to measure these outcomes and know for a fact whether or not it's effective or not. That's probably where we need to move. We don't know that yet. So we're hoping this stuff is effective. But that's the early stage of this game, right? We're just trying everything under the sun to see what works.
Right. What works, how it works, if this is going to stick. Like, yeah, it's definitely you have to evolve, right? And now we're just kind of like, I feel like in the first step of things, like implementing these programs is like the first step of making change.
Yes, definitely. And implementing programs that are actually 1, effective, 2, utilized, 3, not just on a stupid app on a phone. Yeah, I'm putting y'all on blast out there. Everybody who's got this in Washington, have this thing called the Cortico app. There's 0 data to its effectiveness that I'm aware of. Maybe there is some, right? But they came in real hot and they're like, let's do this app. And a lot of people are using it. So it would seem, right? But it's basically, you can go on there, you can get some information about, your mental health, and you can get some information about how to do breathing techniques and things like that.
But you don't have anyone to talk to or anything or reach out to? Being. They don't have like, I want to see a therapist or something.
I don't know about this. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe that's in it now. Yeah. But is it a wraparound care type program that can provide support? Like you're involved with a program that does coaching, right?
Yeah.
What's that program called again?
It's a performance protocol, life coaching for
first responders. But it's this dynamic of like, let's have a conversation.
Yeah. How does it work?
Human to human, right?
Yeah. So there's on the platform, there's about 300 coaches, and we all have our bios and stuff like that, where we kind of specialize in, and the person goes in, and because the department pays for it.
Yes.
So the person goes in, they pick who they want to talk to, and then we have
who they think they match up with the best. That's
and we have a conversation, and everybody I've talked to so far is like they really love it because they're really getting something outside of the department.
Well, I think what I love about it too is you're giving them the pick. Like they get to make the first choice, right? Instead of just like, here, you got to go see this person. They get to pick who they think that they would align with. So I think that gives them a self of control in a way,
Yeah. I mean, because first responders aren't control freaks. No.
And I think that helps them.
Leave it to chance.
Yeah. And I think this will help in the mental health side of things. Not that's what it's for.
Yeah.
But I think it will help because I think people will feel like they're able to use the program and still kind of keep moving forward in life.
Well, and I like what you said. It will create this culture where everyone can now start talk about it, and it's not this like taboo subject. And it's like you have a coach, and it's now more created this safety for everyone to actually talk about it instead of keep it in. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And that's really something I never really thought of. I mean, I was open and honest at work, with my struggles and, wanting to take my own life and damn near doing it. And I think that did open up to other people, be like, okay, yeah, I need to go see somebody.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
2014.
About 10 years ago? What was going on that led you to that?
So I got hurt at work, was out for 500 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The knee injury. And during that time, my girlfriend moved in with me. Then she moved out. And then like my kids were kind of around more, but then they were off kind of doing their stuff. And one of my daughters moved out of state. So just like kind of like
Just
the home
like
dynamics were kind of like,
yep.
excuse me, crumbling a little bit. And I had a really I've been working 5 jobs for a really long time. And
How long's a really long time?
Yeah,
Oh, man,
5
probably
jobs.
15 years. Probably.
You did wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Oh,
So 15 years, 5 different jobs, laid up.
5, working those jobs.
From crazy chaos
to nothing. To
sitting at home and
and then wondering like, oh crap, am I ever gonna like be able to recover from this injury? And but it really like I had a really, really like, if I didn't have, like I would always say, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. And I really like kind of believe that and just like absorb that in my life. And so I was like, oh yeah, just like another hit's coming, like, oh, what's going to happen next? And during this time, I was just feeling really down. And then I was kind of on an island, right? You're on workers' comp. You can't really go into work and go to trainings and things like that. And so I was just kind of like on this island.
Isolation.
Well, and no distraction. So you're like, oh shit, I'm really aware of what's going on in here now.
Yeah. And so, right, a lot of suicidality thoughts, which just progressed. And people would ask, like, the people I did talk to, which was mostly like close friends and family, like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And then things would push me farther and farther over the edge, like, one day I got a knock on my door, and it was fire chief, and said, you probably knew this was coming. And I said, and he was there to give me notice that I was having a termination hearing.
While you were down already? Okay.
Yeah. First, maybe second time I talked to him after I had surgery and stuff.
Wow.
So
holy cow.
Yeah. So that was kind of a blow. And
what did that feel like, man?
It was shock. It was gut wrenching. It was just like stripped of everything I worked so hard for. And I would do anything for the department.
Yeah.
Loyal.
Like,
they
needed something done, I would do it.
Yeah.
Come in days off, whatever, like I would do it. Like would give them like everything. So having that.
Well, and it's part of your identity.
Yeah.
It's like who you are. Oh.
Yeah. So then I had to fight for my job, and like, fighting for your job, getting an attorney, going up against your chief. That doesn't breed anything that's good.
Just keeps on bringing the bad luck, right?
Keeps bringing the bad luck. But people like, then they, form kind of an opinion of you and stuff like that. And so I just like was to the point of like, I don't know that I can take this any longer. Like really good, right? We're first responders, we're really good at suffering. Like even today, I still catch myself like suffering more than I should.
Yeah. We create a lot of our own suffering.
Yeah. And then don't really do anything about it other than stay in the suffering cycle that I know Matt's going to talk about.
Ruminating.
Since I'm done talking about this. But yeah, so I just like, when I got that, I tried to reach out to some friends for some help to go out, kind of like blow off some steam. Didn't end up going out to do anything. And I went to my room, and my room was kind of like where I kept all my fire gear from past and pictures and all that stuff. And I was just like, well, this is the day. This is the night. So I've seen thousands of suicides. I'm like, I know how to do this the right way and like keep it, as sad as it sounds, clean, and like
control. I can control my own suicide.
Yeah. I mean, first responders have almost all of them, if not all of them, have thought about how they're going to take their life if they were to do it.
How do I minimize the fallout from this thing that I'm going to do?
Yeah.
And as few people as possible can be affected by it.
Yeah. So
I've had those thoughts too.
Yeah. I had a bunch of pills I was going to take, and just laying there on the kind of the corner of my bed. And my dad, who passed away about 20 years before that, I just heard his voice just told me it's not time. And that was just like wow. That just
that got me.
Yeah, like shocked my system. I cried, myself basically to sleep. Just like, damn, I'm so broken. Like my thoughts, everything is just so just broken. Not just from this incident of just what's happened at work, but just life.
Yep.
The compounding nature of all this stuff that's just been laid on you.
Yeah.
And you just feel hopeless.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you said your mind was broken, like your thoughts.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, the way you were, well, and the way that you're thinking really does affect your outcome of action.
Yeah.
And so how that recognition of like, my thoughts are broken. Okay, now I'm going to have to reconstruct my thoughts. I am sure that took like down the road, but
no. And so I literally got up the next day and was like, got on the internet and I was like trying to search out something that I could find to like retrain my brain, my thought process. And I luckily came across a book called A Bug-Free Mind.
Oh,
and it kind of like breaks down like why you think about things, what culture has taught you, and like what you probably could be thinking differently and stuff like that. So really made you get excuse me, down.
That's awesome.
Into the weeds of your thoughts and like really starting examining why you have the mindset you do. I did end up fighting and keeping my job, and I never actually went to see anybody for help for like quite a few years
after that. Okay. Yeah.
So probably.
What led you to do that?
To go see somebody?
Yeah. At what point? I mean, if you can dig yourself out of the hole of wanting to kill yourself, why would you then need to go talk to somebody? Wouldn't you be strong enough to not need anyone, Jerry?
Okay. No, you're right. No, I'm not. No, this will lead into another conversation. We have time. No, you're 100% right. I'm like, I don't need to go see anybody.
That's the mentality.
Like I have conquered this. I'm like up on my feet. Like I'm doing better. Life is getting better. I'm reading these books and everything's just great. Yeah. But then it came to the point where I was just like, I want to be better. Like I want to be better. And going through this stuff, like I can only get myself so much better, like myself, do so much for myself. So I wanted to like go to the next step. I want to see how good can I feel? Yeah. How like where is that? And it's still like do that today.
Yeah.
What a question.
I love that. Yeah.
Like how good can I feel? And even just after retirement, and I've had another like little dip in life. Sure. And it got pretty bad. Not to the point where I was suicidal or really had any suicidal thoughts. I just felt like I felt empty, just completely 100% empty. And I don't really know how to explain that. It might be something different. People had asked me, I'm like, I just feel empty.
I say hollow.
Maybe that.
It's the same. Yeah,
sadly,
just like super hollow.
Yeah.
No motivation.
Yeah. And I don't give a shit about a lot of things. I just don't. Yeah. So then I'm back to this point, like, this is recent. And I'm like, I got to do something different. I need some different kind of help.
That's the emptiness. I got to fill it with something.
Yeah. So
because we have this feeling of emptiness all the time. I mean, people listening to this conversation right now will go like, "Oh, I know that feeling."
Yep.
Yeah. The East, they teach that emptiness is the most desirable of all qualities because an empty vessel is waiting to be filled. And if I understand that I am that empty vessel, mostly full of empty space, I decide what to fill myself with. But that recognition of emptiness has to be painful. Mm-hmm. It cannot be enjoyable. So that empty feeling is very hollow, very tumultuous, very confusing, very overwhelming. Mm-hmm. There's probably even some hopelessness built in there, right? And I have to recognize that it's my responsibility, my job, my privilege, my life's purpose to fill this empty space with something. And so that painful moment becomes this incredibly powerful opportunity to really do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you relate?
Yeah, I can relate. And I think this is a problem with a lot of first responders is we have the confidence that we can dig ourselves out of these holes
without any help.
Without any help. And we most probably don't.
Here's what I see. Here's what I see. I have all this confidence that I can dig myself out of this hole. But along the way, how many people am I going to leave behind? That's the problem.
A lot behind. And you're going to create probably a crap ton of bad habits.
Because here's what you're going to do. You're going to try and dig yourself out of this hole, but who's that about? It's about me, digging me out of this hole, right? And this is my big thing that I harp on all the time. If I am stuck in this cycle of suffering that I've created, right? The last podcast we talked about samsara quite a bit, but this is this Eastern idea that I have this cycle of suffering that I'm continuing, that I'm perpetuating with my own behaviors, with my own habits, and it's almost like I have this weird addiction to my suffering. And so now, in order for me to get out of that, I have to focus on it, right? And so what I end up doing is I focus so much on how much I'm hurting that I'm going to get rid of this hurt. And I don't care who I hurt along the way to get rid of the hurt. And the fallout, right?
Yeah.
Is huge. Because who do I hurt along the way and trying to no longer be hurt? Everybody who's closest to me.
Yeah. The people that you love.
And so that's why I end up in the situation that I'm in, because I'm trying to fix me rather than understand that I don't need to be fixed. I'm just dealing with a circumstance. I'm dealing with a situation that may need to be examined. And the thing that needs to happen is I need to maybe fix the circumstance. I maybe need to adapt to the circumstance and change the way that I'm behaving, but I can't fix me because that would imply that I'm inherently what? Broken.
Yeah.
But I'm not broken. I'm whole. But I have this emptiness inside of me. Why do I have this emptiness? Go back to the beginning. Because it needs to be filled with something. Well, what are you filling it with? Angst, disappointment, hurt, resentment,
Broken
anger,
thoughts.
Brokenness, more thinking that I'm broken, suicidality, loneliness, abandonment. I mean, I can fill with all that stuff. We know how that goes.
Yeah.
But right? I have to recognize that's all about me. Or I can choose we over me, and I can make it about us. And I can make it about our family. I can make it about our department. I can make it about our humanity. I can make it about our experience. And this we thing is so powerful because now the motivation for me to change how I'm behaving is not just about ending my suffering. I don't care about my suffering. I'll suffer freaking hard for my family. I'm not trying to end suffering. I'm trying to suffer well for them, for us, for this great cause that's way bigger than me. That's the shift.
Yeah.
And when I can make that mentality shift, I'm unstoppable.
Awareness, right?
It is awareness,
Yeah,
but this is why I love working with first responders. And people think I'm crazy because I do. I love this culture as much as I've ever loved any culture, even though it's incredibly difficult because you guys are so fucking stubborn. But I get that. But that's the greatest strength too.
Yeah.
That's the greatest strength. Is this stubbornness? Is this resiliency? Is this tenacity? Is this willingness, this innate like capacity for suffering? But I have to recognize that I'm suffering for the wrong reasons. I can suffer better. And then you could ask that question that you asked, which is an awesome question. Well, how good can I feel?
Yeah.
Whoa, damn. Now I got to make some changes. And along the way, that's going to cause some freaking pain. That's going to hurt. That's going to suck for a really good reason. And this is a huge mentality shift that people just have to grasp if you really want to make some change. If you want to change your life, it is not about anything other than looking at how you are so focused on your own pain and how you just want to end it. What I just described. That's suicide.
Yeah.
Why do I want to take myself out? I want to end this pain. I believe that I might even be bringing all this pain to the world. And so now I want to rid the world this pain because I'm such a painful person. I bring all my bad luck everywhere. So if I take me out, I'm making the world a better place. Wrong. Never true. But what I can do is I can take my pain and I can use it for something meaningful. My family, right?
Yeah.
And it's powerful stuff.
Well, I think we forget as human beings when we have these super deep emotions in that moment, we feel like we're the only ones who are feeling them.
Yes.
And so I think what's great about yours is how you did ask yourself that question, like, how can I feel better? Like, how can I feel the best I can be? And I think we can't do that without connection. And so to be able to take those big emotions that we feel and be able to share that with someone, we're going to connect with someone on that. Because if I'm feeling this way, then someone else must be feeling this way too. And to have that connection and to get that confirmation of that dark hollowness feeling that we have felt is like normal. You're like, oh my gosh, okay. All right. Okay. Now where can I move on from here? Like, how can I pivot differently than I have in my past? Because that hasn't worked. So obviously I need to switch up something and change it to be different moving forward. And I think one of the things is the way that we see ourselves, and then also the way that we think that people view us, and then the actual way that people view us. I think if we really as human beings can understand that I have no clue even what you think of me, and you're my husband. Like, I can't say what you really think of me. And so if I can eliminate that thought process and have that relationship with myself and that strong connection with myself, then I think I can take that out and have a connection with you and make it about the we and not just the me. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm trying to think like how to sometimes like to get to that point of to make it about we, like how do you help people recognize when that point really is, right? Because first responders are really good about suffering, right? And for the reason you said, totally. I mean, right? No matter what the weather is, what's going on, you have to perform your job, right? Suffer through.
Yes, you have to suffer through that. No matter what.
Same exact concept goes into your life, but generally those when you go on those calls, there's some kind of completion of it.
Yeah.
In a lot quicker time than in your life, but I think it's just moving to that point of like maybe somebody saying something to you that it's just, you're not the only one suffering here, right? Your family's suffering here. Everybody else is suffering. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Even though you can see it, are you willing to do something about it?
Yeah.
Right? And what is that something that you're willing to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it gets really hard to figure that. It can be hard to figure that out.
Well, especially if my only motivation is just, I don't want to hurt anymore when I'm actually okay with hurting. I'm not going to want to change until the hurt gets really bad. Yeah. That's why this concept is powerful for the first responder community, because it's like, well, maybe it's not about you.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to suffer so someone in your department can take care of you.
Maybe you're being a whiny bitch and you're so focused on your own problems. Like, think about and this I've seen a lot, the transition from early in the first responder world, right? Like very beginning, you're stoked. You're freaking pumped. You're ready to go. You'll go into the calls, you're first, all this stuff, and then you get jaded. Well, what makes you jaded? What gets you all pissed off? What gets you disgruntled? Why do you no longer want to be around the person who was your best friend, aka your first wife or whatever? Maybe things weren't going well, whatever, sure. But the reality is you stopped focusing on why you started this in the first place, which was the we.
Yeah.
And you started bitching and moaning and complaining about how you don't have the shift you want and you don't get this thing that you want and things should be different for you and me and me and me and me and me. And that's what creates our suffering. And this is the hardest thing for people to grasp, because we're addicted to it. That's the samsara lesson. That's what the Buddha was teaching thousands of years ago, is I'm addicted to my suffering. I like it. Right? Tony Robbins, one of my freaking favorite people to talk about, right? Neurolinguistic programming. The whole concept behind that whole thing is that I create problems so that I have something to solve. I'm creating problems in my life so that I have something to do. Because once my problems stop, what am I going to do? I got to complain about my problems. I got to create problems so that I have something to fix.
Yeah.
But I can get myself out of that cycle. That's the cycle of suffering. And I can move into this beautiful cycle, this beautiful state of living where I'm here for us. What am I doing? I'm going to go to work today because I know that when I'm there, it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. But I'm doing it because I want to put food on the table for my kids. That's a really good motivator. I'm doing it because I know I'm going to end up at that one lady's house who drives everybody nuts. And we go there once a week and she's just having the hardest time. I'm going to be cool to her. right? That's one of my favorite. I know this one first responder. She's just such a stud. Her commitment was that when they would go to those houses that you go to over and over and over, she was going to be sweet every time.
Yeah.
And she didn't hate going to those places. She learned to love it. She actually got the call to go to that place that they always go to. And she would start to get excited to go because she could see her again. Think about that.
She changed her thoughts.
It's a mentality
She changed her thoughts.
shift.
Yeah.
But
you changed.
But the mentality shift, the thought shift is, it's not about me. It's about we.
The we, yeah. And looking at it in a positive, like it all ends up to gratitude, right? It's like, if we can find gratitude in all things, even in our suffering, then we can create this sense of joy and peace and contentment, and it not be this suffering, hollow feeling.
Awfulness.
Yeah.
Ugh, I hate this. How long do I have to do this?
Like, it's really easy to be disgruntled.
I can't wait to retire.
Yes, yeah. And
I don't know how many times I've heard, I can't wait to retire. Oh my gosh, I only got 5 more years. I'm like, dude, bro.
But you loved it in the beginning. Let's go out loving it in the end.
That it gets hard and right and like it's arduous. This career path we've chosen is freaking painful and brutal. Are you kidding me? I relate. All I do is hear about people's fucking problems. That's my job. People sit down in my office and for an hour, I literally just go, wow, that must be tough. Right?
Yeah.
My friends make fun of me because they think the phrase, right? We all have our phrases. We're going to make this shirt and everybody has their phrase that they say, right? And on our shirt, we all have our one-liners, right? What was yours?
Oh, I'm not going to say
remember.
mine.
Oh, yeah, I know yours. You can say that.
Okay, what's yours?
Anyways, mine is, my friends, they tease me about it. My phrase that they quote me as saying the most is, wow, that must be hard.
Yeah, that must be hard.
Because I say it all the time because that's what people do. They come to me and they tell me why their life is horrible and why it's bad. And at a certain point in my career, I was just like, I'm tired of this. I'm done. I'm done listening to people complain. I can't do it anymore. You're creating your own suffering. Stop. Here's how. And that's when I found this freaking ice bath thing. And I was like, here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Get in the ice bath every day. Get in the freaking cold every single day and watch your life's going to change. Well, people are like, that's ridiculous. That's not going to work.
Because it changes your thought process. It changes, you have to tell yourself, no, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Because the whole time you're screaming, I want to get out. I want to get out. But it changes your thought, like thinking of how your mentality.
It's a brain hack because if you do something you don't want to do every single day for a good reason, that becomes a lifestyle change.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the cold bath, cold shower thing.
And it's working out, it's eating healthy, it's all the things, right?
Yeah. There's many things,
So Matt, I'm going to ask you this, even though I'm the guest.
Oh, I love it. Do it.
Yes.
So what is the recipe, in a nutshell, to end this suffering as a first responder? So, what is it going to take? What do you see is going to take to cook up a recipe that someone can go use to fix this?
Yeah. People aren't going to like this answer. You got to get over yourself. You got to move past you. You just do. It's if you really are honest with yourself right now and your life is miserable, how much of your time do you spend thinking about you?
And what you want and the things
and
you
what
need.
you don't have and what you can't control. Those are the two mental processes that create suffering for people. If I focus on what I don't have, what I wish I had, but I don't have, right? Mm-hmm. And what I don't have control over, I will suffer.
Yeah.
So the antidote to that is, well, what do I have? That's gratitude. Mm-hmm. And what can I control? How and why I do what I do. I can't really change what I do a ton until I change why I'm doing it. This is a fundamental principle of psychology, just cognitive behavioral therapy in general, right? Is my motivation for behaving is more important than my behaving. Why I do what I do is way more important than what I do. And so that's what this is. This is a mentality shift of changing why I do what I do.
Well, and with that, why you do what you do is going to go all the way back to childhood, to your beliefs that you've made up about yourself, because they do affect you today as an adult. And I feel like my biggest thing is education, educate. Like you said, you read that book. Like I think learn as many things as you can about why you do what you do.
Awareness.
Learn about your brain, how that works, how like the thought processing, like learn it all. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think? How would you answer that question? Mine was very non-specific. Sorry. Take cold showers.
Where's the action step there? I think you're right. You have to get to the point where you start wanting to learn why you're doing these things, and maybe what are the tips that I can do to like start changing the way I'm doing things or reacting to things. Like self-awareness is huge. Emotional intelligence is huge. I continually like explore those things all the time and about the brain, right? And how it works and reframing things. And because I think we want to control so much, but there's just so much that's out of control. And when you show up to work, check the box of I'm not in control, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, you can't dictate what calls are coming or what's going to happen throughout the day. And so what does happen is you hypothetically fix all the problems that are going on at work, and you can't fix shit except what's happening like with you or on your crew or in your little immediate area. You're not going to fix the big things.
Well, the analogy I give is like, can you imagine if let's say you're a medic or a freaking EMT or firefighter, and every time the tones go off, you get upset.
Yeah.
Good fucking luck, bro. Good luck. And there's people that do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But that's your job. That's the whole point of being where you are, is the tones to go off. Getting upset at that is being upset at your own decision to be where you are. So if I'm dissatisfied with my current experience, with my current choices, what do I have to change? My current choices, my current experience, the circumstance. Quit.
Yeah.
If you hate the tones going off, quit. Find another job that you don't hate. I have a theory, though. You're going to quit. You're going to get to that next job. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to hate that one, too. And then you're going to quit that one. And you're going to go to the next one. You're going to hate that one, too. Because the problem isn't the job. It's not the circumstance. It's you. It's your reaction to the situation.
Your reaction. Yeah.
Right? This is why the best book of all time is Man's Search for Meaning. Because that man, right, Viktor Frankl, sat in Auschwitz for years and didn't suffer a day. He almost died. Didn't suffer a day. He lived through that pain, that anguish, that awfulness. But there was no suffering because he was okay with where he was at. Auschwitz, the worst place in modern history. And he made it out alive because of one thing. And this is the one thing that he teaches. There's one thing that kept him alive. Take a wild guess what it was, folks.
Gratitude.
No, it wasn't gratitude. It was bigger than that.
Self-awareness.
No.
What? I'm still going.
It was his wife.
Oh.
It was love.
His love.
And as cheesy and as freaking annoying as it is, you want to make a change in your life? Find what you love.
And you can see,
you will change it.
You can see that why that can be really hard for some people. Because I think a lot of people don't have that.
Love.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't have that, but that's also something from within yourself.
Yeah, it's for sure.
It's awareness. It goes back to awareness.
Yeah,
it's not that they don't have it. It's that they're unaware that they do have it and that it's always been there.
Yeah, it's always been there. But I feel like, do they maybe know how to express it or how to like...
Right. You have to learn
maybe
that.
I don't want to say use it or like...
Just
but
embrace it.
But I feel like even like that, like it's like love is also connection. So like, and I feel like if a lot of people don't have connections with people, because that brings love, connection, like my connection with you. And stuff.
Love is the motivator towards connection. Here's how I see it. Okay. Love is an energetic force that is driving us towards each other.
Yeah.
That lives inside of every human being and really every animal, mammal. Like this is the thing that binds living beings together, is this energetic force that some people call God, right? The great spirit. You can call it whatever you want. I literally just call it love. And it's this thing that's driving us towards each other. And when we allow ourselves to sit in that and experience it and utilize it, right? I mean, this is Star Wars and Dune and freaking all these really cool stories that everybody loves. In the end, what's it always talking about? What is the overarching message of all this lore, all this mythology? What's driving us toward each other? Why do we do what we do? Love.
Yeah.
It just is. Yeah. And so if I choose to be a first responder because I love helping people, and then halfway through my career, I freaking hate helping people, what happened?
Yeah.
Well,
go talk to somebody. Figure it out. Yeah. You don't need to be pissed off.
Yeah. I'm like, you don't see. I got 100 different things on what happened.
There's so many things that have happened, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, it all boils down to one thing. I don't like the way things are, and I wish they were different.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
There. Yeah. I feel like people get stuck there.
They do. And you if you do that, you will suffer.
Yeah.
You will suffer. If you want things to be different than they are, that's the definition of suffering, right? Things are the way they are. Your job is to recognize that they never stay the same. They're constantly changing, and you can deal with literally freaking anything. There's nothing thrown at you that you can't handle. Yeah. That's the reality.
Well, and I feel like the thing that you can control, which for my own personal experience is when I had the awareness of actually what I am in control of, and that was my reaction. Yeah. That's the one true thing that I have control over is how am I going to react to this? And I think sometimes I'll even ask myself, like, how does Brindy want to show up to this? How am I going to be a raging bitch in this moment? Or am I really going to sit with this and be like, okay, what am I really feeling? And then show up that way. And once I figured that out, that's really the only true thing that I have control over.
Why did you change that? Why did you decide to not show up like a raging bitch?
Because I didn't like the way that I was affecting the we. So it wasn't just affecting me. It was affecting other people too.
You recognize that energy that you're bringing to your surroundings affects other people and the energy in that room.
Yes.
And so if you brought let's say loving energy to that room, that might be more desirable, and it might change the way that you feel and the way that other people feel. And it might change the whole dynamic and the whole experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's love.
It's love.
It is. It's the energy that we create. It's what we bring.
Yeah.
And focusing on what I don't have and focusing on what I can't control puts me in a state of scarcity, wantonness. And now I think that I don't have all this cool stuff that I really do. I've lied to myself. I've tricked myself into believing that I need something that I don't have, when in reality, I have it.
Yeah.
All this is all great and fine. You just got to do one thing. You have to take the time to sit with it and figure it out.
Yep.
And what do people do? Scroll, watch Netflix, do all these things,
make a drink,
everything but to sit with that, to realize I want to show up this way instead of a raging bitch. I want to show up with love.
Yeah.
You have to
it's not
sit with those things and realize that that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And that process is facilitated, made easier, right? It's a lot better when you do that with another person.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ancient methodology, the ancient method for doing this thing that you're talking about, this self-reflective process, is called a teacher. You go to a teacher, and that teacher, you listen to that teacher, and they explain to you, teach you, help you explore, help you look at these things, and you can self-reflect with the aid of an expert teacher. Maybe that recipe has been around for a long time. Maybe that's the whole point. And what really is so difficult, and I will now disparage my career field, is that we have a lot of therapists that are not teachers. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of therapists that are sounding boards. Mm-hmm. And clinicians listening to this podcast, don't you dare become a sounding board. You are not there to reflect and validate somebody's shitty thinking and help them believe that they are good when they are shitty.
Yeah.
When they are doing, like I had this client the other day, she thought that I said something like, every time a client comes into my office, the client is always right. And I was like, I would not say that. No. In fact, that's
Matt
often
will call you
not
out.
the case. Yeah. No, and I admit that I'm wrong sometimes too. I don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, most of the time, right, somebody who sits in my office and they look at me and they go, hey man, I'm cheating on my wife. If I'm a sounding board for that person, I go, oh man, she must be a bitch. Right? Like, how am I helping this person? I'm not helping anybody in this situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, I'm getting another freaking session with the dude, but I'm not helping this guy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You got to look at that dude and go, are you freaking kidding me? Where's your morals at, bro? I'm not going to sit back and let you just freaking destroy your life. Do you have kids? You have kids and you're cheating on their mother? Bro, what are you doing? Help me understand this process. Yeah. Can you please help me understand why you think this is a good idea? And they're like, what? I thought you were a therapist. I'm like, yeah, I am, buddy. Let's talk. And that's a real conversation with people, right? But we go to therapy school and they say, your job is to meet the client where they're at and just ask them a bunch of questions and do all these things. And the idea of therapy gets completely misconstrued, where we become this sounding board, just reflecting back this echo chamber, reinforcing people's negative, shitty belief systems. That's not therapy.
Why the hell did you go to school for so long if you're just going to we could just get a robot that just sits there and do that.
Yeah. Oh, buddy, you don't even know. That is happening. That will happen. Oh, AI is coming into the therapy world. Don't you worry. Yeah. They're trying to replace us too.
I've seen it.
It's crazy. But the truth of the matter is, I need somebody to look me in the eyes and go, dude, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
That's not cool. And you know it. Seek inside yourself. Look inward, right? What do you feel in relation to this? Oh, dude, I'm torn up inside. Yeah, no shit. Of course you're torn up inside because it's contrary to your energetic freaking stuff that's teaching you about what it means to be a human. Mm-hmm. You're not being loving. You're being selfish. You're trying to get your rocks off, dude, and you're blowing apart your life and the lives of your children in the process. Not cool. Fix it. And that's the truth, right? So to go back to your question is probably should talk to somebody. This is not done in isolation.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's maybe some things, right, that could be done in isolation. But I mean, maybe to get you started and okay, I've thought about this. Maybe I'm going to run this.
I think,
get friends. You got to have friends. You got to have people. You got to have human beings to talk to, because if you live in your isolated mind and you are that echo chamber, you're just going to reinforce your own shitty thinking over and over and over. You can read 1,000 books. You can read 1,000 books and you can learn everything. But until you look another human being in the eye and go, hey, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? You're not going to really know what you think.
Or if you have some special power to figure out how to ask yourself, not play the victim, right? And ask myself, well, what's my part in this? I feel like most of us get that from connections with people and talking to someone or even friends. We've had friends tell us before, hey, what do you have you really thought this out, And it's good to have those people in your corner, who know you and stuff like that. And so, talking to someone and getting you out of that mentality. But I think everyone is so individual that it can start off that way, right? Where you're just kind of oh, I'm going to explore this and read a book. And we've talked about it before, where it's well, if you want a six pack and you hire, a trainer to figure out how to get a six pack, why aren't we hiring psychologists to learn how my brain works and understand my own self better? That's an investment that I'm willing to put in anytime. And it's just funny how there is a generation that is just not into that. And I feel like a lot of them are running as chiefs, right? Because they're that older generation. It's pull up your bootstraps and just keep going. That's just what we do.
Yeah. I think society lacks a massive amount of emotional intelligence. Yes. I think it's just when in school, where at in your life have you been taught emotional intelligence?
Doesn't happen.
Seriously,
it doesn't
people,
happen.
You think about it. Yeah.
No, nowhere.
Unless you do it on your own.
Yeah.
Or maybe go to a therapist. Maybe you're going to get some more emotional, kind of intelligence. But
you don't learn it from anywhere.
We get emotional ignorance through social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's true. This is how I should feel about this.
Yeah.
That's how I should feel about this.
Yes.
Not,
you're being told how to feel about it.
Yeah, you're being told how to feel about it.
Yeah.
And you spend so much damn time on your phone. We all know this. Like that you're whatever you want to find, like negative or positive, is just going to keep being fed to you.
Yep.
And that's...
I'm sorry,
hard.
bro. That's the feedback loop, man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You create. This is, so if you go way back, even before the Buddha, and you go into Hinduism, right? The concept of karma is very misunderstood in modern Western, because karma we think is like, if I do a good thing, it'll come back to me. If I do a bad thing, it'll come back to me. That's not karma. Karma is the way that I see the world, how I perceive things, the belief systems that I have, that creates what comes back to me. Mm-hmm. So it's not just what I do, it's how I perceive that creates my reality. That's the fundamental concept of Freud, of Jung, of Albert Ellis, of Carl Rogers. All these originators of modern day psychology use that concept in creating the way that we look at the mind. And it's been around for literally 5,000, 6,000 years, maybe longer. Yeah. We don't know. We've known this for a long time, that how you perceive the world is how the world is for you.
That's why we're all so individualized, because we all perceive it different, because we all grow up different.
So that's why we need teachers and friends and family and people to ping stuff off of, so that we can constantly come to this understanding of reality. Yeah. Because there is this thing called reality. And I don't know what it is, and you don't know what it is, and you don't know what it is. But when we come together, we're going to have a way better understanding of what that is than in isolation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's why this love thing is driving us together, so we can understand each other better. So we can understand this experience better, so we can be better at it and be better to ourselves and be good. Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. So what are you up to today?
Continuing with the podcast. And then I'm going to, like I said, I just recently took a job doing a wildland paramedic.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So I'll be doing that over the summer. Really excited about that. And then doing the coaching thing, which I love. I love that platform. It's so good. Like, it's so good to talk to people and hear their perspectives of different things. And even though like my law enforcement experience is a little bit different than, well, a lot different probably than most of the people I'm talking to, but that's not really what I'm talking to them about.
Yeah.
I know the language, I know like, and all that type of stuff that helps me understand that, to help them, to help direct them. And then, trying to pick up some new hobbies, going to take my car out and do some racing on some track racing and stuff like that.
And that will be fun.
Just meet some new people, and like retirement's been challenging.
I bet.
It's been tough, right? We talked about the identity, talked like, I've gone through like this emotional roller coaster, grieving. Like, it's been a really up and down. Like, no books really that I've read how to like retire. They're probably out there. I just haven't seen them. Like, hey, this is things you should expect to feel maybe when you retire and stuff like that. But I mean, most people don't really retire. They just retire maybe, or collect a pension from one job and just move on.
And then move on to the next. Yeah.
Something different. But I mean, and I'm still just super fascinated. How good can I feel? Like, I think I've tried a lot of different things to feel good. A lot, doing different types of therapy and like that. And so I think I'm still on that journey.
I think we'll be on that journey till we die.
Yeah.
I really do. I just, because like life gets thrown stuff at us that was not in our control. And so it is always ebbing and flowing, And so I personally think that we do the work until the very end.
Yeah. My mom's 81 and she's still still doing, like, she's really with it and very like mobile and everything. She's still living a great life, and
that's awesome.
She's like, I'm still here because there's stuff I need to learn and stuff I still need to do.
Yep.
And it can be almost, for me, it can almost be like, I could take it to like an addictive level.
Sure.
Oh yeah, like, for sure.
Just keep
like, never enough.
reaching, and like, instead maybe like do some, settle there for a little bit, do some self-exploration.
Go race some cars and then come back.
Yeah.
You do miss that thrill, man. Yes. It's just that thrill.
What kind of car are you racing?
I have an older Corvette.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It's super fun to drive. It's just, when you you just miss the thrill.
Yeah.
And that car brings back some of the thrill, some of the fun, you know, that I miss from being at work.
That's awesome. Yeah, we got to come up there and check that out.
Yeah,
Is it like drag that you're doing, or what?
No, I'm gonna do the like road course.
Oh, okay.
Road course,
cool.
and some technical courses and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
But,
Like real driving.
yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's
hard.
fun.
Yeah, my wife's not loving it. Digging it. She's not loving me leaving for 16 days on wildland, but she's really good. I mean,
it's
you have
an adjustment for her too. Retirement. Yeah, it's everyone. Yeah.
Yep. Totally. Everything you do affects everybody around you.
Yep. It's crazy.
Definitely happens that way.
Yep.
But yeah, and trying to like help people. I still really love that part of life. Like it's just awesome. One quick story, just kind of about love and stuff like this. And it just this call constantly comes up in my mind, and it's not a bad call whatsoever. It's a call that we went to for a lady having a panic attack. That's what we found out when we got there. Really upset. Her husband's there. Her husband's best friend's there. And she's just having this breakdown moment, and they can't console her or anything like that. I'm the captain. I have a medic and an EMT and stuff like that. They're kind of doing like the real work, like trying to do blood pressure and do things like this. All she wanted, I just reached out and held her hand and took her to a whole another level within seconds. And then a couple of minutes later, I'm good. Signed a release. So love, compassion. That I tried to tell people, that will change the moment, whether you're a police officer or a firefighter or whatever, that will change. People can see it and feel it like we've talked about. Like, so just maybe even trying to get people to explore that energy to just the love people, like you got in this profession for a reason. Like show people that compassion and watch their pain go away or watch their, vital signs improve. Like,
and yours along with it.
And then it's contagious. That's why you want to help people because it feels so good. Yeah.
Well said.
I love that. That's beautiful.
A great way to finish this up. I love it. So if people want to get a hold of you or listen to your podcast or whatever, follow you because you got an amazing social media presence, I'm sure.
The best way is Enduring the Badge on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find me under Jerry Fire and Fuel on Instagram, or just go to the website, enduringthebadge.com, and you can leave messages and reach out to me there. And you can watch Matt's episode and or listen to it and find all about how he is in a different, being the guest instead of the host. Matt's great. He's super knowledgeable and was a great guest.
It's fun. I gotta come on again. I want to do this again too. I was actually thinking while we're doing this, I was like, we should have Jerry on as like a regular spot.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, this is really great. Both of our conversations. The other one will forever live in the ether, but it was good too.
It was for only us. Okay.
It was great. But you can see why we need to have a conversation again. This was really beautiful.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, thank you both.
That was
appreciate
awesome.
it.
Finding Strength podcast is sponsored by Avantacool. Avantacool. It's a fun word to say.
It is a fun word to say. What is Avantacool, Matt?
Avantacool sells cold plunges. Avantacool sells infrared saunas. Check out Avantacool at avantacool.com. If you use the code STRENGTH24, you will get a discount of 25% off any Avantacool products. How amazing is that?
That's a good discount. It really is.
Do you like our cold plunge?
I love it.
It's nice, huh?
It is really nice.
It's great.
Stays clean.
It's clean.
Perfect. Whatever temperature I want it to be at, I can set that, and it's great.
Yep. We love it.
Go check them out.
Every penny. Check them out. Avantacool.com.